Sorry, just need to check my phone for a second. Did you catch that? So, I'm sure you clicked on this video just because you saw the word porn in it, huh? Porn did play a part in discovering my sexuality. You know, I was just a horny teenager. Yeah, my history with pornography and masturbation has been very complicated, and I'll tell you the story and maybe you'll see why. I definitely started off masturbating pretty early, like probably right when I was 13, but I definitely had a sense, and I'm not sure from where, but that it was wrong and that it was gross. I remember watching shows like The Fifth Wheel. I don't know if you guys have seen The Fifth Wheel. There's like a lot of shirtlessness that happens. It's like a reality show where people make out. You know, like when you're young, you're turned on by just people making out, and especially making out with no shirt on. Oh my God, like sign me up. Oh, how we've evolved since then. I think in my head, I justified to myself, well, like I'm not accessing porn. And you know, my parents had parental controls on like my computer. So like this must be at least a little bit better than watching porn, because porn is like awful. Like porn is just evil. You must be a bad person if you consume porn. I watched Desperate Housewife for the sex scenes. I remember watching Sex and the City for the sex scenes. Anything that was like remotely sexual, I kind of tried to see if I could get off on it. This feels weird saying this. I didn't realize until like a little bit later that the natural way to masturbate is just using your hand. I remember back when I first started out, most of what I would do with my hands, I wouldn't do anything with my hands. I would just like kind of grind up against like the carpet floor. I also remember that I would use Ken and Barbie dolls to kind of create my own sex scenes. Oh, and I forgot, wow, this is bringing up so much. So I also remember that I would watch soap operas too. So I didn't watch just Desperate Housewives and Sex and the City. I would also watch Passions and General Hospital, because there's a lot of romance that happens in soap operas, obviously. Keep in mind, like most of this is like me getting off to straight relationships, but I would be always like looking at the guy. I think I was just denying it a little bit before sophomore year in high school. And then I discovered that, you know, parental controls are not perfect. I was able to find sex scenes on YouTube, and I was definitely able to find a few sites that had hentai. My world started expanding even more, right? I was like, oh man, like I can act like this is great. I don't have to just watch people kissing. There's also like intercourse that happens. And then I think it was through hentai, and after coming out to myself, I guess, I realized that there was yaoi. I remember reading, wow, this is saying a lot about myself. I remember my favorite yaoi manga artist was Sakurai Shushushu and also Honjo Rie. I think both of them were pretty popular in terms of like having really, really smutty yaoi. And I was still in that mindset where I was like, well, you know, it's not like real people. So like this isn't as real as it could be. So I should still be fine, right? Because I'm not watching real porn where real people are having intercourse with each other. I'm just watching drawings. And then I'm sure you can imagine that after yaoi came slowly going into like actual like IRL real people porn. And I'm not sure if it's because I started masturbating just watching like straight relationships, but for me there was always something kind of fun about like mixing it up, and I would still watch the guy. And I think it was after that point that I had a harder time hiding the fact that I was watching porn, because like I was watching it pretty often. When I was just watching TV shows, I would secretly try to record everything on VHR so I could kind of like save it. I thought I was being stealth. I wasn't. My dad caught me. He kind of took me aside and told me that I needed to stop doing that. And so I was just more careful about recording VCR. Like I of course I didn't listen to him. And then I remember my mom caught me, and that was a much bigger deal because my mom did not pull me aside. She yelled at me in front of my dad because she accidentally played my VHS. There was definitely a concern that I was gay and that I was sexual. I clearly remember, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be talking about it. My mom was really, really mad, and I was having so much trouble understanding like why she was that upset. Like I knew that she would be upset, but I didn't understand like why it would be that upsetting to her. I remember her showing me like this weird article about how like masturbating is not good for you. Masturbating is disrespectful to your parents or something. I don't know if it's like this weird Buddhist idea that she made up, or maybe it's real, I don't know. And so, you know, obviously, of course, because I was just so scared of my parents, I promised them. I also remember that my mom didn't drive me to school for a week or like 1 or 2 days. Because she always drives me to school. That was kind of her idea of like teaching me a lesson or like walking to school or something. The second time that she caught me was she walked in unannounced to like my desk area. I kind of like closed the window on a gay porn site a little bit too late and she saw it. I remember I thought I was being so stealth because I was just like deleting all of the history on it, but obviously it's more suspicious when there's no history on your browser. Also because obviously that also means you have something to hide. And so again, my mom made me promise that I would not do it again indefinitely. And I also remember like my dad asking me and both my parents asking me if I'm gay. And I remember saying that I was not. God, wow. I remember telling them, wow, it's been such a long time since I thought about this. I remember saying that I promised that it's just a phase. And they were asking me if I had a crush on any guys at my school. And I knee-jerk reacted and said no. Both of those experiences were very scary for me. Like, it was one of those things where, like, they catch me. I promised myself, honestly, that I won't do it. 1 week later, I do it again. I was excited about moving away from college because I knew that I would be able to not be supervised and I wouldn't have parental controls in my house. I also remember that porn, especially watching gay porn, like, that's what taught me, like, how to, I don't know, be with guys, because I had no idea until watching porn, like, how guys did it with each other, really. I mean, it wasn't something that was discussed in depth in sex ed. You know, all of the couples are assumed to be straight. The first time that I was with a guy, I knew what to do because I've seen blowjobs happen before. Just that aspect of my relationship with my parents, it was a very, very dark time. I definitely can see how it would affect the way that I look at sex now and the way that I look at pornography now. I'm reading all these, you know, articles about how, like, are you addicted to porn? Is porn setting unrealistic expectations for you? I didn't know how to handle it, and I still don't know how to handle it. That's probably something that I should bring up in therapy. I mean, I think I'm strong and I'm fine now. Like, I think I'm just telling this because I think it's something that isn't talked about a lot. It really would have been comforting if I knew this when I was younger, like what masturbating even was, because obviously, like, when I was 13, I didn't know that it was called masturbating. It just felt good to me. Wow, my underwear got really, really yellow. I'm sorry if that's TMI, but I think it just would have been nice to hear someone else talk about it, I guess. Because, like, I was really scared. Like, I for the longest time, I thought I was a freak for wanting to do something that's pretty natural to most human beings. Like, how could I not feel like sex or, like, you know, trying to discover my sexuality? I didn't engage in a lot of sexual activity with other men in college because I was really scared and, like, I did not educate myself. And it was only after making more gay friends that I was able to kind of feel more comfortable talking about sex and, you know, talking about the way that gay men specifically engaged with sex and with other men and just how complicated it can be. From my first sexual experience in my life while I was in college, it just took a lot for me to work up to it, I think, because of all of the weird messages that we all get regarding, like, you know, interacting with your own sexuality. I mean, I don't know, like, I kind of wish that I did, because, like, you know, college is the place where, like, you meet awesome people and you do discover yourself. My hoe phase was stunted a little bit, and it still is to a degree, I guess. Technically, I guess you can say that I'm still on my hoe phase. It's like an insecure where, like, I'm deluding myself that I'm on a hotation even though I'm totally not. It's funny because I talk, you know, pretty liberally about sex and Grindr and things that happen because of Grindr, but I never talk about my own sexual discoveries, I guess, because I think I didn't realize until now that, like, that's also, like, a very personal thing that I wasn't prepared to share, really, or that I'm not as open to sharing, and I was just questioning to myself, like, well, why am I so afraid to share those things? As long as you're comfortable, share stories about you discovering your sexuality in the comment section below, and we'll all, you know, commiserate as we always do. And so, yeah, thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate you as always. Please take care of yourself, and please know that all of these videos are brought to you with the loving support of my patrons on Patreon. So please consider supporting my channel to keep it going by becoming a patron on my Patreon. Thank you so much. Bye.